No industry changes faster than modern marketing. Great marketers need an edge. Great marketers need to be brave. The Brave Marketer podcast provides an opportunity for each guest to share a story where they exhibited bravery by taking a risk that made a dramatic impact in the market. Our guests are marketers from top brands and agencies who share the exact strategies and tactics they used in their brave marketing moment. We then dive deep into topics like ethical advertising, consumer privacy, crypto marketing, brand safety, and navigating a future without third-party cookies. Hosted by Brave Software and me, Donnie Devoren, head of sales at Brave. Together, we'll get a backstage view of the brave marketing moments and creative mindset work that's shaping today's most influential brands. Hello, Brave Marketer listeners. You're obviously listening to a new episode of the Brave Marketer podcast. So this episode is a little bit different. What we're going to do is we're going to give you backstage access to what it's like to be on the sales team at Brave. What advertisers are we talking to? Who's having success? What were advertisers interested in before? What are they interested in now? And we're going to do that with one of our regional leads, Rich Rosenzweig. And this really came from a request from our audience that said, I love how you have Brave marketers as guests, but I'm really curious what it's like to talk to the Brave marketers from an advertising sales perspective. And so that's what we're going to do today. So I hope you enjoy this little different take on the episode. But before we hop in today's episode, we want to highlight our Brave pick of the week. So as you may know, every episode we choose a brand that has run an ad campaign with Brave as our pick of the week. And this one we're doing culprit underwear. So they ran push notification ads. And really in talking to the founders over there, they were not satisfied with their Facebook ads. And they were competing for the same audience as every other underwear company. And they wanted to reach an audience that was wider than their base, and their goal was to rapidly increase their sales. The first day of their campaign with Brave resulted in 5x the number of sales from other advertising channels. And if you want to see a link to their case study, just check it out in the show notes. So now to today's episode. You're going to meet Rich Rosenzweig, regional sales lead here at Brave. And Rich is a seasoned vet when it comes to internet advertising. His career spans over 17 years with stops at Yahoo, Lotame, Rubicon, and Nativo prior to joining Brave in 2019. And he's got really good knowledge across search, display, video, programmatics, and he seems to have an idea for all new products that Brave releases. When he's not talking about the digital space, he's spending time with his wife and 2 kids at the beach or skiing. And with no further ado, here's today's episode of the Brave Marketer. Rich, thanks for coming on the Brave Marketer podcast today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, thank you. So as you know, this is a podcast that usually features Brave marketers, but we're going to put a twist on today and have you talk about what it's like to sell Brave ads and a little bit about your history. I think the listeners are in for a treat. So as far as your Brave marketing moment, I'd love you to talk about the risk that you took leaving a large corporation and joining startups that prepare people and advertisers for the future. Can you tell us about that Brave marketing moment?
Yeah, for sure. There's lots of moments that I've experienced in my career, but I think it actually goes back to around 2007. I was working at Yahoo, selling search and speaking to lots and lots of small companies on a daily basis and really becoming, I guess, friends with a lot of these, high-powered CEOs. And one of them was at a company at Lotame, and we started talking and building relationship. And he was telling me about opportunities around selling and opening up new offices and so on. And for me, it was kind of like, this sounds pretty cool. I'm at this unbelievable company in Yahoo. I'm 25. I have a good paying job and people know who Yahoo is. Nobody's really heard of Lotame at that time. And I was kind of thinking, is this the time to take that risk and jump to a startup? If you think about it, there's nothing really better than a startup experience where you get to be part of building something from the ground up. And I guess my moment really was understanding if you find that product that you really believe in, it just makes it that much easier to take that risk. And for me, I jumped from Yahoo to Lotame, and really what that did was prepare me for the rest of my career 4 startups later, and here I am at Brave. And it's been one of the best experiences I've had for my life. So, I think it really started with taking that risk and leaving that big corporation and joining the startup to really help build something from the ground up.
That's great. So now that you're here at Brave, how have conversations gone since you started?
Yeah, so I started in 2019 and GDPR was in full bloom. Here comes CCPA in California. And then a few months later, boom, Google drops this hammer on these cookies being eliminated. So for me, a few months in, and all of a sudden we're having these interesting conversations with brands that really there's 2 different types of reactions that they were giving us. Those first, handful of conversations were, oh no, we're in shock. We need to figure this out. Some of the brands we spoke to actually created like cookieless task force and a few different types of future of the advertising world type groups. And for us, we were like, these are the types of people we want to speak to. Then you had other brands that were thinking, we have time. We're not really in a rush to figure this out. So as a Brave seller, what we wanted to do is speak with that first group. We want to have an answer for them today. And if you think about Brave, it's a privacy-focused browser, checkbox there. You have a cookieless solution, checkbox. Obviously, we're still early in the world, but brands were starting to listen. So for me, it was like a really exciting time. Again, took that risk to join a startup. And within the first 3 months, the cookies were eliminated and people are starting to listen to what we have to say.
Yeah. And you talked about how brands are starting cookieless task forces. Have you seen that extend into the agency side of the business, or is there a dichotomy there?
Yeah, it definitely started with the clients, but I do start feeling like agencies are thinking in their heads, like, we need to catch up and really understand, like, where is this market going? So I think it started at the clients, and now it's rubbing into the agencies' minds. And we're starting to get folks reaching out to us to join some of these conversations. So I'd say, yes, they definitely are starting to create those types of organizations within the agencies to figure this out.
Gotcha. Are those the main questions that you're getting today, the GDPR, CCPA, CPRA, and cookieless stuff, or has the conversation shifted at all?
Yeah, I guess privacy and cookies are definitely a hot topic with advertisers. With any new platforms, there's always going to be questions about your performance and your scale and the different access points, right? Are you available programmatically? What does your reporting look like? So I'd say the hardest part of my job is convincing these clients to really change everything that they've done over the last few years. And we're being bold, right? We're trying to change the internet. The questions, yes, they concentrate on that privacy world, but there's so many other factors because we're becoming, more mainstream in a sense. Some of the questions align with the questions that I was getting at my previous roles, just around standard advertising questions.
Rich, what are advertisers really excited about right now?
Yeah, I think the common theme, at least for like the last 18 months, has really been around that privacy and cookieless future that we just touched on. But I think what clients are super excited about is reaching a very unique audience. And if you think about it, clients are always looking to market to a new person. And a shameless plug here, it's Brave is unique, right? Because we're a browser that blocks all third-party ads. If you think about programmatic ad spend, I think it's going to hit $90 billion this year. Because we're blocking all of those, clients can come to the Brave browser and our ad platform and really hit this audience that they're not reaching. So I think advertisers need to understand that there's a whole world out there that they're not hitting, and you can come to that Brave ad platform and really hit those guys.
So what type of success are those clients having with Brave ads?
I think it's important first to take a step back and just talk about the different ad units, because different clients have different KPIs and whatnot. So like a client like a Procter & Gamble or a Toyota, these are very well-known brands, right? And they're more interested in mass reach or top funnel awareness type executions. So they're probably more interested in like our sponsored images. So these are those new tab sponsorships that go out to really the entire audience. So their success is more about like mass reach, eyeballs, being able to, own a browser. I think that's pretty cool also in their minds. And a lot of times we'll include, surveys where we can actually get real feedback on how these performed around like lift or awareness or intent, things like that. So really when it comes to success, it really depends on the product. And then obviously on the flip side, There's clients that are, looking for some type of conversion. So like high CTRs. There's clients like the Lending Trees of the world or Progressive, where they'll use push notifications to drive those signups or some sort of acquisition. I don't want to get into specifics, but like these clients really see a value of not only just hitting their goals, but again, hitting a new audience with different types of products that they're not used to.
Got it. And I think a lot of our listeners know that we run a lot of crypto advertisers. The latest stat I saw was that around 70% of our advertising is coming from the crypto categories. But the mainstream advertisers, like you were just talking about, they are catching wind of privacy and cookieless marketing, and they're starting to come out. So what specific mainstream advertisers are you seeing in your book of business?
I think it's funny. If you interviewed me a year ago, I probably can name a handful, maybe on one hand, how many mainstream advertisers worked with us. Like you said, definitely crypto heavy. Fast forward to now, and we have new big time advertisers coming to the platform every day. Brands like MasterCard, American Express, P&G, Anheuser-Busch, Ashley Furniture, Home Depot, Chipotle. I can keep going and going. It just continues to excite me. You could probably hear it in my voice. It's every day we start seeing these brands actually reaching out to us. And Donnie, we both have been doing this a long time. I don't know a lot of startups that get the type of attention that Brave is getting, where brands are actually reaching out to us. And it's exciting to be a part of it.
Yeah. Do you find that specific categories are working better than others?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, I mean, if you think about our audience, there's definitely brands that are looking to target the early adopters, tech enthusiasts, or financial savvy. Those are definitely the best performing categories. Gaming is definitely starting to take off as well, since most of our audience is in the gaming space. But I think one that's super interesting is the CPG brands. I mentioned a large one earlier, but they love the fact that we're reaching a very unreachable audience. And if you think about it, this audience is very vocal. And one of these brands that we spoke about earlier, they talk about talkability. They love the fact that brands, or I should say that people spend time on Reddit and actually share their feelings. And that's something that you don't typically get with standard advertising, like display ads or video ads. In our world, people are going on Reddit and sharing their true feelings, whether they like the brand or not. That's something that's super cool to see from a Brave perspective.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So why do you think Brave is emerging as such an important ad platform out there?
The internet is changing, right? It's, when I started in late 2019, I think we had about, 10 million monthly active users. Now we're growing to over 32 million. And these are monthly active users, but we're also growing from a daily perspective. I think we're up over 12 million daily active users. So it's all about being in the right place at the right time. And because we're making noise, brands 100% want to be part of it.
And so what should advertisers be worried about right now?
Honestly, I think it's missing out on testing now because it might be too late. Even though Google, changed its course again on eliminating of the cookies or when that might happen, brands still need to figure it out. And really that time is now. And I also think that there's new privacy regulations coming out on a weekly, monthly basis. So you never know what's going to happen next. So I think it is that they have to worry about the unknown.
Yeah. And you talk to a lot of different advertisers. What do you think that they're saying is the biggest threat to the marketing world right now?
I think it is the unknown. I think Google changing its course, Trade Desk and other big companies creating unified IDs. There's just a lot happening. You don't want to get lost. And that's happening to a lot of clients today. They made the announcement that cookies aren't going away for an extra year or so. Clients were like, wait, should we stop trying to fix things or stop trying to innovate? If they don't start now, they could potentially miss it. So I do think that the biggest threat is that unknown and not realizing like what could happen tomorrow.
Got it. And so on the flip side, what do you think is the biggest opportunity right now?
A shameless plug. I think it's testing us and working with Brave and getting ahead of the unknown by saying, hey, I figured out a cookieless solution, a privacy-centered ad platform. Here's a way that I can market to a very unique audience today and not having to wait. So I do think the biggest opportunity is really testing Brave.
So we asked this question of a lot of our different guests. So finish this sentence. I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't done X.
Wow. Hopefully my wife is listening to this, but I would say I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't started listening to my wife. And I say that because she does a really good job of listening to me and calling out what I'm actually saying. She's a teacher and always listens to what I have to say before giving her response. And a lot of times I go to her with these types of questions around marketing and advertising, taking risks. This company has these benefits, these companies have these negatives, and she'll lay them out for me and really help. So, if it wasn't for her, even back in, 2007, I probably wouldn't have left Yahoo, because she was the one, that voice of reason, to say, hey, now's the time to take the risk. And I did. And fast forward to middle 2019, obviously with Brave coming on strong in the world, I had my positives and negatives of what I wanted to do. And she laid it out for me and said, take the risk. And a year and a half later, it's one of the best risks I've taken. And I don't even call it a risk anymore, because I love every day of, being at the Brave browser.
That's awesome to hear. Is there someone that you think you'd like to nominate to be on the show?
Yeah, I'd love for Procter & Gamble to get on. They did some really cool stuff with us, and I would love for someone like them to really talk about their experience and how it performed. I can't get into the specifics, but I'd love for them to come on board and talk about it.
Great. So, Rich, thanks so much for being on the Brave Marketer podcast. We really enjoyed having you on
Thank
today.
you. I'm excited to hear. I've been a huge fan since season 1 and excited for what season 2 has in store.
Hopefully you enjoyed that episode with Rich Rosenzweig on the Brave sales team. And I thought some great takeaways was Rich talking about which mainstream advertisers are running with Brave right now. We discussed it really excites them and what they are faced with right now. So we talked about the dichotomy between agencies and brands are a little bit ahead of the mark when it comes to getting ready for the cookieless area. And then we talked about different categories that are doing well. Technology-focused brands seem to do really well on Brave, and obviously Brave has grown at a really fast clip. So hopefully you enjoyed that. If you like what you heard today and found it valuable, it would be super helpful if you took 1 minute to leave us a short review in Apple Podcasts. Every review counts in helping us get our show in more ears. And on one final note, if you have a brand, product, or service that you'd like to get in front of Brave's 30 million users, please email us at adsales@brave.com and let us know you're a podcast listener to unlock one of 2 perks. If your budget is under $10,000 a month, we'll bump you up to the top of our self-serve waiting list. Or if your budget is $10,000 or over a month, we'll qualify you for our 25% podcast listener discount. Just email us at adsales@brave.com. That's ADSALES@brave.com. And finally, music credits for the intro and outro and all the music that you're hearing today is my own brother, Ari Devorin, and you can have a link in the show notes to his information. We'll see you next week on the Brave Marketer Podcast.